Today we're taking a look at college football matches, which are happening on Saturday, April 24, 2021, and giving you my betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes. Let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos. So here are my betting suggestions for Davidson versus Jacksonville State match. This is the first FCS playoff appearance in Davidson history. They get a tough matchup against the number 4 seed Jacksonville State Gamecocks, who wrapped up the Ohio Valley Conference title with a 28-14 win over Murray State last week. Against Presbyterian, the Wildcats got 2 touchdowns from running back Coy Williams. Quarterback Tyler Phelps added 115 yards on 21 carries and completed 5 passes for 55 yards and a pick. Satchel Moore caught all 5 passes. A late turnover allowed Presbyterian to survive a furious comeback attempt by Davidson. The Gamecocks won their 9th OVC title after scoring touchdowns on 3 straight 65-plus yard drives in the first half. Tight end Trey Berry caught a first-half touchdown pass from quarterback Zion Webb, and the pair hooked up to set up a second first-half score. Webb finished with 17 completions for 239 yards, while Berry finished with 4 catches for 101 yards. Webb also scored 2 rushing touchdowns to go along with 65 yards. The Gamecocks have the Wildcats outclassed athletically and get to play strength versus strength card with their run defense against the Wildcat gun triple option. I foresee an overwhelmed Phelps dealing with significant pressure for the first time this season. That should translate to a few turnovers and a runaway for the home team. The Gamecocks have the Wildcats outclassed athletically and get to play strength versus strength card with their run defense against the Wildcat gun triple option. I foresee an overwhelmed Phelps dealing with significant pressure for the first time this season. That should translate to a few turnovers and a runaway for the home team. My first betting advice for that game is to pick Jacksonville State Gamecocks -21. Jacksonville State earned their 2nd straight win and won the OVC by beating Murray State on the road in their last game. The Gamecocks improved to 9-2 overall and 6-1 in the OVC with a victory, earning the number 4 seed in the FCS playoffs as a result. Against Murray State, Jacksonville State jumped to a 14-0 lead late in the first quarter and led the rest of the way. The lead was 14-7 after 1 quarter, 21-7 at the half, and 28-7 after 3 quarters en route to the victory. Jacksonville State held a 444-375 edge in total offense, forced the game's lone turnover, and each team had 23 first downs. The Gamecocks held a 31-48-28-12 edge in time of possession in the contest. My second betting advice for that game is to pick over. Now here are my betting suggestions for Davidson versus Jacksonville State match. The Hawks are 3-0 and are coming off a 42-17 win over Kennesaw State. Freshman quarterback Tony Muskett went 19 of 23 for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Bearcats are 6-0 and are coming off a 42-14 road win over Uyo. Junior quarterback Eric Schmidt went 25 of 34 for 370 yards with a touchdown. This game is supposed to be relatively close, so it will be interesting to see which team can get a break or 2 here. The Hawks were only able to get in 3 games of work, but they were terrific in their little bit of time. It's like they got a 3-game preseason to prepare for this game. Monmouth 3-0 just doesn't screw up. QB Tony Muskett threw 8 touchdown passes with no picks, and the team gave away just 1 lost fumble. The passing attack is dangerous, the ground game behind Juwan Ferry is solid, and the O as a whole should be able to keep up. Sam Houston 6-0 is 2nd in the nation in sacks, and it has a bigger body of work. The defensive front lives in opposing backfields, the offensive line is fantastic in pass protection, and the numbers are eye-popping. The Bearcats average 45 points per game with a balanced offense. The passing game averages a whopping 16.1 yards per pass, and the ground attack comes up with 187 yards per game. Monmouth has a promising freshman quarterback, a strong running game, and an explosive passing attack to go along with an opportunistic defense that has not allowed more than 19 points in a game this season. Schmidt has had his fair share of problems with taking care of the football during the spring, and the Bearcats have run into some trouble as of late, with 2 of their last 3 wins coming by 14 points or fewer. My first betting advice for that game is to pick Monmouth Hawks +10. It's hard to really nail down these teams based on the volatility of this season, but I do feel relatively confident in both offenses. That has me looking at the total. One thing that sticks out about Sam Houston is that it still ranks 17th nationally in plays per game despite playing in so many blowouts. Both teams will likely be incentivized to lean on the passing game because that's where each defense is most vulnerable, and each offense has been incredibly efficient through the air. I wouldn't go crazy on this, but I do think there's some value on the over with the total. With 2 offenses that each average more than 40 points per game, I like this game to go over the current total of 60.5. My second betting advice for that game is to pick over 60.5. Now here are my betting suggestions for VMI versus James Madison match. The Keydets are 6-1 and are coming off a 31-17 win over Citadel. Freshman quarterback Seth Morgan went 25 of 34 for 328 yards with 3 touchdowns. The Dukes are 5-0 and are coming off a 23-6 win over Richmond. Senior quarterback Cole Johnson went 16 of 25 for 235 yards. This game has a huge number attached to it for obvious reasons, so it will be interesting to see how it falls out on the gridiron. The Keydets have been making program history all year, which includes their first winning season since 1981. The Virginia Military Institution is 6-1 and secured its first Southern Conference title since 1977. The Keydets defeated Furman for the first time in 27 years, plus they experienced their first ever victories on the road over Western Carolina and Samford. VMI hopes to have some magic left in this Cinderella season as it matches up against one of the top FCS programs in recent years in James Madison. The Dukes have been a powerhouse within the FCS, finishing this season with a 5-0 record and boasting a combined 56-8 record over the last 5 years. James Madison has made it to the FCS championship in 3 of the last 4 years, including a win during the 2016 campaign. This season, the Dukes have leaned on their dominant defense and rushing attack to keep them unbeaten. However, they will be tested by the Keydets' pass-heavy offense. The Keydets cranked up one of the best and most efficient passing games in the nation, with Reese Udinsky being everything he was expected to be as a Big Ten caliber passer. He's expected to go to Maryland, but he suffered a torn ACL. JMU allowed a grand total of 878 yards on the season, leading the FCS in total defense and second in scoring D, giving up just 9.8 points per game. How dominant was the defense? The Dukes allowed 33 points in the second quarter this season. James Madison is an undefeated heavyweight for a reason. The Dukes are one of the most complete teams in FCS. VMI's passing attack gives it the potential to pull off the upset, but a defense like JMU's is built to shut that down. The Keydets will likely have a hard time slowing down this offense, but a SoCon title in this strange spring season is a nice feather in the cap for VMI heading into the fall. My first betting advice for that game is to pick James Madison -14. James Madison is going to be able to control the line of scrimmage, thus be able to move the chains with its dominant rushing attack. On the other side, VMI is going to unleash Morgan, who has averaged 344.6 passing yards a game since taking over under center. The underdogs should be able to move the ball on offense through the air, as they've completed 73.4% of their passes and averaged 7.45 yards per attempt. My second betting advice for that game is to pick over 45.5. Good luck to all of you. That's it for this video. Stay tuned and stay safe for the next betting tips and advice.